Good evening everyone. Today we're going to be talking about critical junctures which related to the English language after 1987 in Sri Lanka. First of all, as the first part of the presentation, we're going to be talking about the language policy after 1987. And as the second part of the presentation, we're going to be talking about the English language education policy after 1980s. Language policy in Sri Lanka has undergone significant changes and has been a subject of controversy and debate throughout the country's history. Analyzing the language policy in Sri Lanka from specific years such as 1948, 1951, 1956, 1958, 1957, 1972, 1978 and 1987 allows us to understand the key developments and their implications. Let's examine about 1987 language policy in Sri Lanka. 1987 language policy. In 1987, the Indo-Sri Lankan Accord was signed, which aimed to address the ongoing ethnic conflict between the Sinhala and Tamil communities. As part of the accord, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was introduced, which recognized Tamil as an official language alongside Sinhala. It also granted regional autonomy to the Tamil majority areas in the north and east of Sri Lanka. Do you know about the English language education policy in Sri Lanka after the 1980s? English language education policy in Sri Lanka after the 1980s witnessed various developments in curriculum development, material development and distribution, as well as teacher development and deployment. These developments were influenced by both state intervention and non-state intervention. Let's explore each aspect in more detail. Curriculum development. In the post-1980s period, English language education policy in Sri Lanka saw significant reforms in curriculum development. The emphasis shifted towards learner-centered approaches and the development of communicative language skills. The curriculum aimed to equip students with the necessary language proficiency for future employment and higher education. There was a move away from traditional grammar-based instruction toward more interactive and task-based learning approaches. Material development and distribution. That is the second point. English language teaching materials underwent improvements in the post-1980s period. The focus was on developing high-quality textbooks, workbooks, and supplementary resources that aligned with the revised curriculum objectives. Efforts were made to ensure equitable distribution of these materials across schools and regions. The state, in collaboration with international organizations and educational publishers, played a key role in developing and distributing these materials. As the third point, we can talk about teacher development and deployment. Teacher development and deployment were integral components of English language education policy after the 1980s. State intervention involved the implementation of training programs, workshops, and professional development initiatives. Non-state sector interventions such as private language institutions and international organizations also played a role in teacher development. They provided additional training opportunities, certification programs, and teacher exchange programs, contributing to overall professional growth of English language teachers. State intervention. When we consider the state intervention was a significant factor in shaping English language education policy after the 1980s. The government took active measures to strengthen English language education in public schools. This included policy formulation, resource allocation, curriculum development, teacher training, and monitoring of standard. State intervention aimed to ensure quality education and equitable access to English language learning opportunities. Non-state sector interventions. When we consider about the non-state sector intervention, the non-state sector intervention comprising private language schools and institutions emerged to meet the growing demand for English proficiency. They offered specialized English courses, exam preparation programs, and language proficiency tests. These interventions provided alternative avenues for English language learning, particularly for adults and professionals. Further, as the government interventions, we can take teacher training institutes, professional development workshops, continuous professional development programs, which means CPD, teacher exchange programs, and so on. When you consider about the non-government interventions, English language teaching associations, international organizations, non-governmental training institutions, and online professional development platforms can be taken as the non-governmental interventions. Hope you all have learned many factors regarding the critical junctions here in Sri Lanka which related to the English language after 1987 throughout the presentation. Thank you very much for your unwavering attention throughout the presentation. Have a nice day.